Hey there, and welcome to the Deep Dive. We are so glad you're here with us today.
Yeah, great to have you listening.
If you enjoy uncovering, surprising insights and getting clear on complex topics, you're definitely in the right place. We'd be genuinely thrilled if you like and subscribe. It really helps us bring you more deep dives, just like this one.
And today, we are jumping into something that, well, it touches just about everyone's life. Navigating relationships, specifically those tricky parts around commitment.
Yeah, it's an area where people can easily feel stuck, maybe waste a lot of valuable energy.
Totally.
Okay, let's get right into it. We're exploring a really powerful framework developed over like 17 plus years of working with people on these exact challenges. It's designed to give you a really clear perspective on where you stand and, honestly, to shine a light on what might be holding you back from building the connections you truly want.
And you're going to find some genuinely non-obvious insights here, I think. We'll cover a really practical, step-by-step way to handle those conversations you might be avoiding.
Oh yeah, those conversations.
Right. And also a surprisingly powerful perspective on self-worth that kind of changes everything.
Okay, so this deep dive sounds packed with incredibly valuable tips, different ways of thinking that can fundamentally shift how you approach relationships, commitment, all that stuff. So definitely stay with us until the end to learn these things.
Absolutely. Let's begin with this framework. It's called the 4 levels of a relationship. And the core idea is that confusion, frustration, it often comes from not truly understanding which level you're, currently operating within.
That makes sense. You need a map to know where you are. So level 1 sounds pretty straightforward. Admiration.
Exactly. It's simply seeing someone maybe from a distance and admiring something about them, their looks, maybe their confidence, something they do. It's purely an internal observation.
Right, so totally one-sided. They might not even know you exist. It has like zero significance for an actual mutual relationship at this point.
Precisely. No mutual connection yet. Just unrequited admiration.
Okay, then level 2, mutual attraction. This is where the chemistry kicks in, you connect, there's shared interest. This feels like things are actually happening.
Yeah. And this level is often described as potentially the most dangerous level.
Dangerous. Okay, that sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why would mutual attraction, which feels so good, be dangerous?
Well, because for many people, it feels like the Holy Grail,
Yep.
When you find someone you're mutually attracted to, especially if it hasn't happened often for you, it feels incredibly rare, precious even. There's this explosion of feeling like, this is it. This is so important. I have to make this work.
So the danger is that the feeling, that potential, that connection gets mistaken for something much more significant than it actually is at this stage.
That's it, exactly. The feeling is intense, absolutely.
Yeah.
But mutual attraction or, chemistry alone isn't actually the rarest thing in the world, even though it feels that way when you're in it.
Right.
It's true. Limited significance becomes clearer when you look at level 3. Think of level 2 like an amazing piece of real estate. You found this fantastic plot of land, incredible potential. You can dream up all sorts of amazing things to build there.
Right. You see the potential, and it feels like the finished product, a castle, is already there.
Exactly. The confusion. Level 2 feels amazing. You have great dates. The conversation flows. There's chemistry. And it's so easy to think, this is a relationship. But the reality check often comes with that painful punchline. But they don't want a relationship, or they're not ready, or maybe they're confused. That tells you loud and clear you were in level 2. Just an experience, maybe a great one, but not a committed relationship.
Which brings us then to level 3, commitment. What does that really signify in this framework?
Okay, so level 3 is when 2 people make a mutual decision. They actually say yes to each other to actively build something together. Going back to the analogy, it's mutually deciding to actually build the castle on that great plot of land.
Okay, so it requires 2 builders,
Yeah.
not just one person dreaming.
Yes, exactly. 2 people working together, bringing materials, overcoming challenges, creating shared history. That collaborative effort, that mutual intention and action, that's what creates something truly unique and special. That's your castle.
That makes it a relationship, not just an experience.
Precisely.
And the real pain comes from being stuck back on that level 2 plot of land, where maybe you're trying to start building, you're bringing materials, but the other person is just, I don't know, enjoying the view. Or maybe they're AWOL, not showing up to build.
That's the critical distinction, absolutely. Level 2 is an experience you can have with someone. Level 3 is a structure you build with someone based on mutual commitment. Confusing those two. Yeah, that can lead to immense heartache.
So how do you actually make the jump? How do you get from that exciting potential of level 2 to the mutual building, the castle of level 3?
Well, it almost always requires having the conversation you are most likely afraid to have.
Ugh, the hard conversation. Okay, lay it out. What makes it so universally dreaded? Why do we avoid it?
Oh, the fear of wrecking it. That's huge. We're afraid we'll scare the person away, right? That they'll see us as difficult or demanding or too much.
Totally.
Plus, that level 2 feeling is fun. It's exciting, and we want to hold on to it, keep enjoying it.
And there's that really common but often faulty assumption, isn't there? That idea that if you just keep getting closer, keep giving more, keep being patient, wonderful, eventually they'll just see your value and shift gears. They'll suddenly want to commit.
It's such a powerful hope, but often, a dangerous one. Because the pattern we often see is the opposite.
Really?
Yeah. If you consistently give your time, your energy, your intimacy without the other person investing in building something defined with you, well, they learn that everything you offer comes with no real expectation or consequence. Your giving can actually start to be taken for granted.
Oof, taken for granted. And the heartbreaking outcome of avoiding that conversation then.
Months, sometimes years, just drift by in that level 2 limbo, that undefined space. And then eventually, maybe inevitably, you discover they never wanted to build the same kind of castle in the first place.
Oh, no.
All that time, all that energy resources you literally cannot get back were spent hoping for something that just wasn't on their horizon.
So this hard conversation, it's basically non-negotiable if you want clarity and want to move forward one way or another.
Yeah.
But how do you have it without it turning into like an ultimatum or sounding accusatory?
Okay, yeah, good question. There's a specific practical approach that shifts the framing beautifully. It's about centering the conversation around valuing your own investment, your time, your energy.
Okay, walk us through that. What are the key elements? How does that sound in practice?
Right, so you start by genuinely acknowledging the positive, I've really enjoyed the time we spent together. Then you state clearly something like, I'm investing a significant amount of my time, energy, and intimacy here.
Making it about your investment.
Exactly, you make it clear this isn't casual for you. I wouldn't be giving this level of investment if I were still exploring other options or seeing other people.
So you explicitly state you are not seeing others. That's key.
Yes. And the crucial next step is you ask, calmly, without pressure, if they are in a similar place regarding their dating life and their investment. You can even add something like, if not, that's totally okay, I get it, no pressure at all.
Okay. But what happens if they say they aren't in the same place? What then?
This is where you state your boundary, again, calmly and from a place of self-worth. You explain that if they aren't on the same path or in a similar place regarding their investment and where this is heading, well, then you need to reevaluate your own investment.
Oh.
Because you need to prioritize giving your valuable energy and time to someone who is on the same page, or at least heading in a direction that aligns with what you ultimately want.
That framing.
Yeah.
Wow. It is powerful because it's not about them failing you or letting you down. It's about you making a conscious decision about your own resources.
Exactly. You're not demanding commitment in that moment. You're evaluating where you're putting your most valuable assets. Your time, your energy, your emotional investment. You're not using heavy, potentially intimidating words like commitment or monogamy right out of the gate in this check-in.
It does sound incredibly confident, like you know the value of what you're offering and you're not afraid to protect it.
It is. You're taking ownership. I know what I've been giving. You're framing it as a choice about where you invest your limited resources, not casting them as a villain for not wanting what you want or yourself as some kind of loser because you weren't chosen.
That internal shift, framing it around your own investment and value, yeah, that changes everything, doesn't it?
It really, really does. And having standards and communicating them like this can surprisingly make you more attractive.
Standards creating attraction. Okay, that feels counterintuitive again. Why would that be?
Because it demonstrates self-worth and clarity. People are drawn to clarity and confidence. There's a great example in the story of the expert who created this framework and his now wife, Audrey. Okay.
They met, had that amazing level 2 connection, lots of chemistry. But then he started to become inconsistent. You know, the pattern, less frequent contact, less proactive reaching out.
The classic fading out while maybe still wanting to keep a toe in level 2. That ambiguity.
Precisely that. So after a period of this inconsistency, he sends a text. Something kind of vague but nice, like I miss you or thinking of you.
And the immediate instinct for many people getting that text, especially after a period of silence or distance, is probably relief, right? Jump back in with, oh, I miss you too.
Absolutely. That emotional hit, that little bit of validation is powerful. But Audrey didn't do that. She responded in a way that clearly showed her standards.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What was her response?
It was brilliant, really, both direct and warm. She said something along the lines of, hey, I hope you're well, started warm. Then, to be honest, when I get a message like this from you, I don't really know what to say.
Wow, okay.
We haven't really felt that close for a while now. Rightly or wrongly, this message feels like or comes across like a bid for attention. Wow. That is incredibly candid. She didn't just smooth it over or pretend things were fine.
No. She started with warmth, I hope you're well, but then immediately addressed the disconnect. When I get a message like this, I don't really know what to say. She's basically pointing out that his words, I miss you, don't match his recent actions, the distance.
She's naming the elephant in the room, that lack of consistent connection and effort.
Yes, she's essentially saying, look, this message feels out of sync with how things have actually been between us lately. And the phrase rightly or wrongly is key too. It adds humility. She's acknowledging it's her perception, but she's confidently stating that perception. It calls out the superficiality and demands something more genuine in response.
And crucially, it showed she wasn't willing to just slide back into those inconsistent, maybe confusing level 2 dynamics. She had a standard for what connection felt like and how she expected to be treated, and she communicated it.
Exactly. She acted like someone who valued level 3 behavior, consistency, effort, genuine connection, not like someone desperate to hang on to any crumb of level 2 attention.
Yeah.
And that clarity, that boundary, it's incredibly attractive because it signals self-respect.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the hard conversation you need to have with the other person.
Yeah.
But you touched on something earlier that feels perhaps even more critical. The hardest conversation is often the one you need to have with yourself first.
Absolutely foundational. It really is. The reason you're often afraid to talk to them is because you haven't been truly honest with yourself first.
Honest about what, specifically?
Honest about what is genuinely important to you in life, what you are willing to compromise on maybe, and what are your absolute non-negotiables, you know? What truly matters for your well-being and future happiness.
It's about aligning your internal truth with your potential external actions. Knowing what you stand for before you speak up.
Precisely. You have to determine how much something truly matters to you. What makes it a core desire that you are willing to actively work towards, even if pursuing it means a current connection, this relationship might not survive.
There's a truly painful story, an anecdote, that illustrates the cost of avoiding that internal honesty, especially when biological factors are involved, like wanting children, say, in your 30s or 40s.
Yes, that anecdote. It's about the woman who spent a decade married to a man who was consistently unsure, ambivalent about having children.
Oh, wow.
And she kept delaying the conversation, both the really direct one with him, but maybe more importantly, the really honest one with herself about just how critical having children was to her life vision.
And the outcome.
She ended up missing her biological window to have children. And eventually the relationship ended anyway over that fundamental incompatibility. The cost of avoiding her own truth was profound. Irreversible.
That story is such a stark reminder of the real-world consequences. It really underscores the necessity of assessing the true importance of your desires to your own life before you can effectively communicate them or make decisions based on them.
It's the essential first step. You have to know what you stand for yourself, what's truly important.
Okay, let's move to the final level then. Level 4, compatibility.
Right. So level 4 asks the question, beyond the commitment of level 3, do you actually work together? Can you get your fundamental needs met within the structure, the castle you've built together?
How is that different from level 3, commitment? I mean, you've committed, you're both building the castle. Isn't that enough? Shouldn't that imply compatibility?
Not always, surprisingly. You can be fully committed, both people are genuinely in level 3, and still discover you lack fundamental compatibility at level 4. You might both want to build a castle together, but find you clash constantly over how to build it. Or maybe living inside the castle you've built just creates persistent friction, tension. It doesn't feel easy.
And compatibility is often one of those things that's kind of hard to define until you find it, right?
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh, This is what easy feels like. It's a feeling as much as anything.
Exactly, you nailed it. The signs of a lack of compatibility are often quite clear in retrospect or even in the moment. Constant friction, feeling like everything is an effort, maybe an underlying agitation, or being easily irritated by the other person.
Feeling like you have to walk on eggshells.
Okay.
Or can't fully relax and be yourself.
Yes, precisely those things. And signs of compatibility are basically the opposite. Things just seem to flow more easily. Arguments or disagreements happen, sure, but they resolve relatively quickly. There's a sense of an energetic match. You feel like you can be completely yourself, flaws and all, without feeling the need to perform or pretend or constantly work hard just to make things okay.
That sounds
Yes.
effortless, almost.
It feels much easier, yes. There's a great example of a friend who dated many women who shared his hobbies. He was into dancing, so he dated dancers, but ended up marrying someone he described as the least coordinated person he knew.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Because she was fundamentally compatible in the ways that mattered for his daily life. She was an incredible partner, his best friend, an amazing mother to their kids. Those things met his core fundamental needs in a way that sharing a passion for dance, while nice, just didn't.
That distinction between shared interests, which might be great level 2 fuel and core compatibility, level 4 functionality, that seems really key.
It truly is. Compatibility is about the underlying way you navigate life together, the ease of being yourselves around each other, and whether your fundamental needs are consistently met within the relationship.
Okay, so pulling all of this together,
Yeah.
the 4 levels framework, the necessity of those difficult conversations, both external and internal, understanding compatibility, it all seems to loop back to a core foundation, doesn't it? Something like self-love and standards.
That's the absolute heart of it, yes. If there's one deep message here, it's that you must love yourself enough not to keep anyone in your closest presence, your intimate space, who cannot fundamentally contribute to meeting your needs or giving you what you truly want and need in life.
And reframing what self-love means feels really important here, too. It's not just some, fluffy feeling, is it?
Not at all. Think of it more like a job, an active approach, a verb, really. You are one human being in this world, just like all the other people you say you love and care about.
Right.
And you are the only person whose sole primary responsibility is taking care of this specific human you. That is your job, your fundamental role.
So if that's your primary job, the question becomes, why would you grant significant access, your precious time, your energy, your intimacy, to someone who is inconsistent, someone who makes you doubt your worth, or keeps you stuck in that confusing, undefined limbo?
Exactly. Sticking to your standards, having those challenging but necessary conversations, making those tough decisions about where you invest your energy. It all becomes possible and feels less scary, maybe more aligned, when you connect it back to that fundamental job of protecting and nurturing the human you are solely responsible for, yourself.
And finally, let's just quickly revisit that common trap.
Yeah.
The idea that you can somehow change or fix someone if you just try hard enough, give enough, love them enough, that one-day wager you mentioned.
Yeah, it's such a seductive idea, isn't it? Because it feels like it puts the outcome back in your control. But it's incredibly dangerous territory. You're basically betting your most precious, non-renewable resources, your time and energy, on an assumption about someone else's willingness and ability to fundamentally change.
There's a powerful quote that really highlights this, I think. Consider how hard it is to change yourself, and you'll understand how foolish it is to think you can change someone else.
That really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? Look, people can change, absolutely, but it almost always happens through their own motivation, often sparked by those hard conversations you finally have with them.
Right.
And it requires sustained effort and real progress that comes from them. You discover if change is possible or if it's actually happening through having the courageous conversations and then observing genuine, consistent effort over time, not by avoiding the conversation and just hoping.
And definitely not by just venting about it to your friends while avoiding the actual conversation with the person involved. That doesn't change anything.
Picture nicely. Complaining doesn't build castles. Action and honest communication does.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, this framework provides such a clear lens for understanding relationship dynamics, for identifying where you might be stuck, and it gives you really practical tools to either move forward towards what you want or recognize when something just isn't a match.
Absolutely. Understanding the 4 levels, the critical nature of the hard conversation, both with yourself and with them, the power inherent in self-love and upholding your standards, and that fundamental difference compatibility makes. These are invaluable insights for navigating connections, I think.
So, as you reflect on this deep dive, maybe here's a thought for you, the listener, to ponder. If taking care of yourself is truly your primary job, what standards are you currently setting, or perhaps not setting, for who gets access to your most valuable energy and time?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe,
Mm-hmm.
what's that conversation, perhaps the one just with yourself, that you might be avoiding right now because you're a little bit afraid of the answer?
Yeah. Something to think about, definitely. What does that mean for you?
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We sincerely hope these insights and tools are valuable for you as you navigate your own connections.
Goodbye for now. It was great talking through this.
And again, we'd be so genuinely glad if you like and subscribe. It truly does support us in bringing you more deep dives like this one.
This deep dive was made by our YouTube channel, The Psychology Hour.